Episode 8 of Chainsaw Man, Gunfire, marks a turning point in the series, shifting the tone from chaotic action to brutal realism. The episode is defined by sudden loss, emotional sacrifice, and the harsh truth of what it means to be a devil hunter. Through Himeno's death and Denji's defeat, the episode dismantles any remaining illusion of safety or heroism. This flip of the script between Episode 7 shows the dynamic writing style of the author, even touching base on how precious life can be in the acts of being in a higher-risk scenario. Picking up from Episode 7, we get a bit more lore on the build-up to Himeno asking Denji such a spicy question. This is something we see in animation, or rather in TV as a whole, to fill in gaps and help with screen time requirements being met. The animation team gives us dynamic first-person shots that add to the moment as a whole. A late-night aesthetic with little to no noise, which brings forth an intimate sense in a moment most drunk people may forget. This sequence does a great job of adding more depth to Denji. What happens is we get a peek into the perspective of how Denji takes in the question Himeno asked. After chasing such an intense moment, it's right at Denji's fingertips. However, he thinks back to a conversation with Makima. This shows Denji's discipline as he declines the request of Himeno. This brings forth a strong dynamic most people don't think about when met with temptation. Most lustful acts is sought out within the moment, however after time to reflect it can be regretful. Whereas declining such actions may feel off-putting initially, but then after reflecting on the situation you may feel you've made the right decision. In today's age most people jump to opportunities like this, and don't think about how it could impact not only themselves, but those around them. This is why the scene in this episode is powerful, when you take a step back and capture it in its entirety. As Denji reflects on this choice, he holds the lollipop given from Makima with comfort. The next day rolls around and Himeno reflects on the situation with Denji. She apologizes for trying to make further advances during a drunk state, while realizing that was the case when clarifying with Denji. Denji accepts and they handle moving forward with maturity, which isn't something you see every day. Before a truce and start of a friendship, Himeno states she'll support Denji's pursuit of Makima if he supports her pursuit of another subordinate on their squad, Aki. This slice of life moment marks an example of how human beings look forward to something, which creates a strong dynamic on the continuation of the story. From here, we move to Makima staring from a window in a train. This moment marks a huge turning point from what we got for the first half of this episode. Makima and her fellow subordinates are shot dead, ambushed by a group who seem to have information on the hunters. Moving to another group within the squad, who seem to be enjoying a regular day, is met with a moment of dramatic irony. We get a sound of a gunshot before turning the page to Denji and the group members who we're most familiar with. Denji and the crew are enjoying a lunch break, when they're met with an unfamiliar man who seems to have insight on Denji. He mentions a man who played a pivotal role in Denji's life, then brings out a picture. Denji realizes the situation after the man states he's out for revenge. He then pulls a gun, shooting Denji in the head. This sparks a 0 to 100 scenario. The dynamic we get from such a scene is how precious life can really be. When met with the constant movement of time, in turn the steady pace of breathing and going on about everyday activity, this can be taken for granted. What seems to be a peaceful moment of gathering for lunch can turn into the last moments of a life. The author and animation team capturing such a chaotic scene shows the severity of the occupation of a devil hunter. Aki realizes the severity of the situation, trying to piece together a way to regain an upper hand. We get introduced to the Katana Devil. This is a major step in the story, as the group believed Denji was special based on his merger with Pochita. With the introduction of the Katana Devil, this helps add lore and world building to the already insane world of Chainsaw Man. Aki has no choice but to battle the Katana Devil on his own. Having a contract with the devil himself, he tries utilizing the abilities to help aid in his fight. Using one of the best moves in the arsenal, he believes he finishes off the Katana Devil. Getting only a few moments to assess the situation, he notices Himeno is badly wounded, power attending to her wounds, and no sign of Denji. A subordinate of the Katana Devil arrives to revive him. This leads to an eventual 2-on-1 that Aki can't possibly hope to overcome. Himeno notices this, and she calls on her devil she's contracted with. In exchange for the power of the devil, Himeno must give up limbs or pieces of her flesh. After thinking about a future with Aki, she comes to terms she won't be able to see that come to fruition. She stakes her life on saving him by giving the devil she's partnered with her entire body, dying in the process. Although she cornered the Katana Devil, The subordinate, Akane, uses her devil's ability to overcome the remains of Himeno's devil, putting an end to the attempt to kill off the Katana Man. This being the end of the episode signifies a strong sense of realism within the story. We're used to the heroes saving the day and bringing stability to the plot. However, what Chainsaw Man does really well is give us a sense of reality. Not all stories have happy endings, and not all plots can be a fairy tale. This is captured exquisitely in the entire series. Make sure to check out Chainsaw Man in its entirety, and be sure to subscribe on New Perspective on animated series being broken down.